Thank you so much for joining us for our very first event of this year's Discovery Lab. We're so thrilled to see you all. Tonight, we want to send out a very big thank you to our sponsor, Penguin Random House, for all of their support and for sending us 5 of their very finest reps to this panel. Joining us tonight, we have, in order of who will be speaking, we have Dandy Conway. Wave, Dandy. There she is. And Steve Kent. There's Steve. Tip in the cap. All right. Wade Lucas. There's Wade. Hi, Wade. Steve Atinsky. Hi, Steve. And last but not least, Amy Comito. Hi, Amy. She's got her mug. She's ready. So here's the drill, everybody. Each rep is going to have 10 minutes to talk about some exciting new and upcoming titles. And then after 10 minutes, I'm going to give them the hook and we're going to move on to the next one. So first up this evening is our lovely friend, Dandy Conway, coming to you from the Bay Area. Dandy, you all set?
I am.
All right, sounds good. I'll start your timer. Go right ahead.
All right. I'm going to share my screen. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight and all that you're doing every day. I will just get in to my, there we go. Welcome to Dream Street. Oh, I did want to note before I get started, just like everybody else, some of my titles have changed on sale dates, and I've noted that here if it hasn't gone on sale yet. So Dream Street on sale November 16th. Cousins Trisha Elam Walker and Akua Holmes created this gorgeous picture book drawing on childhood dreams and memories and the adults who helped nurture them. Sorry. My next screen is not working. There we go. We meet residents young and old with dreams big and small, including Akua and Trisha creating art when they were kids over here on the left. This book is a reminder that we can all dream big and accomplish anything when surrounded by love and support. It's received 6-starred reviews. It's in the holiday catalog. Trisha and Akua are going to be on NPR's weekend edition right around publication, so be ready for that. And this is a gift for you. Will look familiar as you've sold many copies of Wonderful Things You Will Be. This is a companion book from Emily Wingfield Martin. It has that same classic feel. It's a love letter to the universal you and the wish many of us have for our kids. It celebrates how we share the world with gifts as small as a flower and as big as the night sky. And I don't know about you guys, but 2020 taught me what a creature of habit I am. And young adult author Jennifer Smith captures this idea perfectly in Creature of Habit. We meet Creature, who lives on the island of habit and does the exact same thing every day at the exact same time until one day another creature shows up and kind of mixes up that routine. And Creature does not like that at all. It's complete insanity. And Creature eventually, after working through some, as we all did, probably by November 2020, we're trying to figure out our new ways of doing things. Creature eventually realizes it's okay to try new things and kind of see where our day takes us. And it's also okay to keep doing the same thing and have your habits. And then Grumpy Monkey. We all know Grumpy Monkey, also known as Chimpanzee. I think he actually could be the poster child for all the supply chain issues that we are experiencing this year. But here he is fretting over the holidays. And as all of you can attest, he sells in whatever format we put him in. And in addition to the picture book, we've got a book and toy set and a couple step and reading titles coming this fall. But in Oh No Christmas, he is fretting over the holidays and not feeling the holiday spirit at all. But as he can do, his friends help him by taking the time and appreciating the good things that can always help make our problems seem smaller. And also a cup of mint tea can help too. Mayor Good Boy. This is the start of a new younger graphic novel series, perfect for those Dogman fans out there. It is full of humor, hijinks, and heart, not surprising for a town that has elected a dog for its mayor. It's kind of a modern Shaggy DA, one of my childhood favorites. And then we have Pony. Readers have been waiting a long time for RJ Palacio to write another story, and they will not be disappointed. It's been called one of the must-reads this season by many of my buyers, and I completely agree. It's set in the mid-1800s, and at its core, it's a story about a boy on a journey, but it's so much more than that. We have Silas, who his father is taken away in the middle of the night by outlaws, and the next morning this pony shows up. So he sees it as a sign that he's got to go see his father. And so he and his best friend Mittenwool, who's a ghost, embark on this journey with the pony. And it's just beautiful. You can tell she's done a ton of research. It feels like historical fiction, but it's also very magical. I'm just going to share part of a quote from one of my buyers. Palacio gave us Augie and his world, showing readers that relationships count. And she takes that idea even farther in this brave and tender story. Silas, Mittenwool, and all of the other characters are made up of their present, their past, their losses, and all the love they have known. It's, I would say, older middle grade. It's also, as you can see, holiday catalog title and an indie next pick. And then our rep pick for fall, pitched as Phantom Tollbooth meets Coco. This magical realism adventure story follows life and death as they play a game of Loteria. Each card they play determines the fate of our main character, Clara, on her journey to rescue her cousin from the mythical kingdom of Las Posas. I loved how this accessible middle grade story explored the idea of free will versus destiny. The gorgeous illustrations throughout makes it a perfect read aloud. So this one's also received multiple starred reviews, and I'd say it's probably on the younger end of the middle grade, 8 to 10. And then Nick Stone brings us Fast Pitch. In this heartwarming coming of age story, Shanice is a softball player who just wants to bring her team to the regional championships. But life throws her some curveballs that start to break her concentration on the field. Similar to Clean Getaway's exploration of civil rights history, Fast Pitch weaves in a family mystery involving her grandpa and the historic Black baseball leagues. It's for ages 10 and up. And Nick's editor, Phoebe A, will be talking at the Children's Editor Buzz panel next Thursday, the 26th at 2. Outlaws Scarlet and Brown. Now we have a new darkly funny series from international best-selling author Jonathan Stroud. The Outlaws Scarlet and Brown has classic Western vibes set in a futuristic Britain, and it's perfect for fans of Rick Riordan and Chris Colfer. Scarlet is a shoot first, ask questions later kind of outlaw, but for some reason, she decides to help this quiet kid, Albert Brown, make it to safety. It's very funny, very quick dialogue that he's known for. It's actually up on Libro FM this month, so definitely check it out. And then into YA, You'll Be the Death of Me. Best-selling author Karen McManus gives us another twisty, plot-driven thriller that she's known for. Think Ferris Bueller's Day Off with a murder. We have 3 friends who relive an epic ditch day, and all goes horribly, deadly wrong. And as I know you are also selling lots of One of Us is Lying, it just started streaming on Peacock, and this is the movie tie-in edition coming later in November. And Skin of the Sea. I don't think I have to tell you how well YA is doing these days. Thank you, TikTok. In particular, fairy tale retellings. This fits perfectly into that genre. It's the first book in a new historical fantasy duology based on West African mythology. Think Children, Blood and Bone meets The Little Mermaid. It's also Indies Introduce Indie Next, and Natasha's editor, Trisha Lynn, will also be speaking at the Editor's Buzz panel about this, and it's 14 and up, young adult. And I have a quick, if I have time, a quick glimpse into spring from Lane Smith, A Gift for Nana. Rabbit goes on a journey to find the perfect gift for Nana. He meets the moon and the stickler who's made out of sticks, and he wanders very far, and he may have taken a bite out of that gift for Nana, but she doesn't care because it's perfect anyway, because it came from Rabbit. And then we have Maisie Chen's Last Chance from Lisa Yee. This is our rep pick for spring next year. It's pitch perfect middle grade, mixing in themes of friendship, family, and food. I highly recommend not reading it on an empty stomach because her descriptions of food are fantastic. And she weaves the Chinese American experience. It's a contemporary novel, but she weaves in the Chinese American experience into Maisie's family story. It's lovely. And Trisha's Lynn, the editor, will also be talking about this one next week. And I'd say it's for younger middle grade, ages 8 to 10. Max and the Midnights, not new to you guys, but the third and final book is coming next spring. And Lincoln Purse's editor, VBA, will also be speaking next week. And then last but not least, Indies introduce YA, What We Harvest. This, I just finished it last night in the middle of the night, which I do not recommend reading in the middle of the night. I'm not normally a spooky book person, but oh my God, so good. Very reminiscent of Wilder Girls for fans of that. And that's it. Now over to Steve. I'm gonna stop sharing and turn off my mic. Thanks.
Okay, Steve, you're up. I'm going to
All
start
right,
my
I'm
whenever
working on
you're
it.
ready.
All right, can you see that?
Looks good.
All right, excellent.
All right.
Excellent. All right, we'll get started here. All right, so, all right, One Life. This is the Young Readers edition from Megan Rapinoe. This is the middle grade adaptation of her New York Times bestseller. As an activist and a gay woman, Megan has faced plenty of adversity, but she refuses to back down. And her perseverance can inspire all of us to push ourselves in our activism. Kids want to participate in activism, and this book is for those who want to learn how to fight for justice. Speaking of the kids, I really think 10 to 14-year-old girls are right in the wheelhouse for this book. And as Kirk has said, a captivating sports memoir that puts social justice at the forefront. And as you know, this went on sale September 7th. And we'll go down to next is Hello From Here from Chandler Baker and Wesley King. This is a witty and thought-provoking YA love story set during the COVID-19 quarantine. So just as California is shutting down, Maxine, who's Max, and Jonah meet at the grocery store aisle. This is Maxine's job at the grocery store. She actually is a shopper and a deliverer, so she's delivering groceries. And John is picking up the last few things. He lives in a gigantic mansion, so they're two different people. Story deals with differences in class privilege, mental health, and sacrifice, among others. All this is during the stresses of the COVID-19 pandemic. There's a side story in this novel, which is really great. There's an old Hollywood type that befriends Max. She delivers to his home every day. And it's kind of a nice, fun story that weaves its way through the entire book. It's pure teen clean, which I like. It's set over a 2-month period, and it also came out September 7th. A PW Weekly starred review says, a satisfying banter-filled rom-com told in alternating voices. Makes for a timely story that offers a creative take on how hope and romance can persist in difficult times. Next up is Dark and Shallow Eyes, Jenny Myers Saint. A teen girl disappears from her small town deep in the bayou in La Cachette, Louisiana. This is small town Mississippi River. It's only accessible by boat, has a few hundred residents, and it's considered the psychic capital of the world. The only businesses in town are psychics, and that's who the tourists come to flock to. So Gray, she's a female, she grew up in La Cachette, and a few years ago, she had to move in with her dad, and she only comes back in the summer. So that's where the book starts, and she stays with her grandmother. So it was her best friend that disappeared. That happens on page 1. So it's kind of an edge of your seat thriller. Question is, how do you keep a secret in a town full of psychics? You can really smell the thick mud and the water rot on every page. It was amazing. So it's a commercial thriller, many plot twists, a wildly surprising ending. Both SLJ and Kirkus both called it atmospheric, which is kind of funny. This was also on sale September 7th, and it hit the Indie Bestseller Week the first week out. Scanning down. Beast of Prey. Get that cover up there from Ayana Gray. Fate finds two Black teenagers together as they strike a dangerous alliance to hunt down the ancient creature menacing their home and discover much more than they bargained for. This is our big book for the fall. We won this in an 8-house auction. It's mythos, monsters, and some serious Black girl magic. Brianna at the Boulder Bookstore said, this is bold and stunning read. The Pan-African world is immersive, rich, and incredibly heartfelt. I agree. We did a top 500 account mailing on this, so hopefully you did receive physical arcs. It's in the Calibo Holiday Catalog. I just saw this morning, or today was 3 straight weeks on the indie bestseller list. Had a fun Good Morning America appearance on the on sale date of September 28th. And then one of the social media influencers that we sent a deluxe box mailing to said, you should absolutely pre-order. Of course, it's already out, but Beasts of Prey right this minute. This book is going to be huge. And I agree. So it's off and running and doing great. So right now. Next, we have, all right. So I just want to touch base on Amanda Gorman real quick. So Change Sings, as you know, came out September 21st. Lauren Long did an unbelievable job illustrating this, and the story is just fantastic and matches, and Amanda was fantastic. So this will sell obviously great throughout Christmas and after. So I mean, Change Sings is going to be fantastic. But I really want to talk about Call Us What We Carry just briefly. As most of you know, or some of you know, the price point went from $19.99 to $24.99, so we had to add $5 to this. The page count went from 80 pages to 240 pages. The jacket has a deluxe soft touch lamination, gritty matte accents, and embossed gold foil type. So we really jazzed it up. So they're going to get a lot for their extra $5. So this goes on sale December 7th. All right, next up, I think we got some picture books. All right, so I don't want to read this book by Max Greenfield. Let me wrap the cover there real quick, just for a second. So for every child who thinks they don't like to read books, and all those kids and grown-ups who do. This is a celebrity book. Max is a fan favorite from Schmidt and from TV's The New Girl. After Max's daughter was diagnosed with ADD and dyslexia, it really helped Max and his wife understand how Lily processes information, including exactly why she doesn't like to read, which inspired Max to write, I don't want to read this book. Things to love about this book. Recognizes kids who struggle. For those who books aren't fun. For those who may be a little too energetic and wiggly. And those that need a boisterous book when it comes to settling down for story time. And final Max thoughts. Think of the kids that were always in the corner with a book in their hand. This is a love letter to all those other kids. Goes on sale November 9th. And the boss just said this morning, don't underestimate this book, and I agree. So I think this will be a winner when it comes out in a couple of weeks. Next, Negative Cat, another book that's already out. Sophie Blackall. So there's a feline Max whose behavior doesn't win any raves. Except, I'm going to jump right to the stuff here, right to the pictures here. Doesn't win any raves except from the boy who believes in him and finds a way to turn a negative into a positive. It's inspired by real life programs of kids that come to read at the shelters for cats and dogs. While kids improve their reading skills, the cats are comforted by the rhythmic sound of a soothing voice. So it's a win-win. Sophie is a bookseller's favorite. She's a 2-time Caldecott winner. This went out August 31st. At the time thought it might be the big sleeper on the list. First week on sale, indie bestseller. Next up, there's a ghost in this house, Oliver Jeffers. So this is an interactive picture book about a girl who lives in a haunted house. She lives in a haunted house, but has never seen a ghost. Step inside and help this girl as she searches under the stairs, behind the sofa, and in the attic for the ghost. Oliver uses tracing paper throughout. And as readers turn each page, they will see the ghost appear on each page. It was supposed to be October 5th. It's been moved to November 2nd, and that will happen. I just got my copy, just showed up today. Hopefully some of you did, it showed up. We did a mailing on that, and it's fantastic. All right, and last, we have arcs at the show for the following 2 books from our spring 2022 list. First is Hotel Magnifique from Emily J. Taylor. This is set against the backdrop of a Belle Epoque-inspired hotel. This follows 17-year-old Janie as she uncovers the deeply disturbing secrets of the legendary Hotel Magnifique. A few of the
Steve, you
lush
have
experiences behind the
I just wanna
velvet
remind you,
ropes.
Steve, you got 1 more minute.
Yep, I'll be done.
Okay.
Let's say, so behind the velvet ropes. So what's hidden here, some of the stuff is seat cushions that purr, fireworks in the palm of your hand, and paintings that you can walk into. The editor describes this as the night circus meets the Hazelwood with shades of Caravel. And last book, what we got about 30 seconds on, I'll get it done. All My Rage from Saba to here. Okay, so this is Saba talking. All My Rage is a YA contemporary fiction novel about 2 teenagers growing up in the Mojave Desert and trying to survive a world set on destroying them. They have been friends for years until a fight shatters that their bond. This book is about many things: addiction and trauma, loss and loyalty, love and family. But more than anything else, it is a story of hope and perseverance. It is a story of survival. Saba adds, in some ways, it is my story and of the story of so many like me. The truth is, I did not want to tell this story, Saba says. In fact, it took me 15 years to do so. So in one word, I just finished this, it's gritty. And that
Wonderful.
is it. And I think
Okay,
Wade is up
amazing.
next.
What a great list. Okay, Wade, you're up, buddy.
Hold on,
Hi,
let me stop
everyone.
sharing. Hold on.
I mean, if you want me to talk about your books, I could try, Steve.
All right, there we go. There we go. Sorry,
All
Wade.
right, let me share my my handy dandy presentation here. Hi, Dandy. So the first book I want to talk about is a spring book. I figured I'd start this right here because it's one of the big highlights of my list. Joan is Okay just makes me smile every time I see this cover. Wakey Wang also wrote a book for Knopf, which was called Chemistry back in 2017, which some people may remember. Her editor is Robin Desser, and this is kind of the inside publishing scoop. Robin Desser, the editor, moved over to Random House Group and brought Wakey with her. And this is the first book in Random House Group that's a Robin Desser project. It's quirky, it's diverse, it's the story of this Asian American woman living in New York City, working in the ICU, and she just is a workaholic, just very focused, and she deals with her kind of a little bit eccentric family, and this new neighbor moves in that's convinced he's going to be her friend, and it's just wonderful. And one of these comparisons I like to make is there's a slight bit of like a Sofia Coppola kind of dreaminess to it. It's just a wonderful, wonderful novel. Then second, we have Memphis. And the way I've been describing this is, of course, it's another diverse voice. Yay, diverse voices. I know we're all looking for those these days. It's kind of a tapestry of Black women's lives in the city, based around the city of Memphis. And I know a lot of people read The Prophets, and the author, Robert Jones Jr., said this about Memphis. Memphis is an evocative, compelling tale that mines the depths of collective Black pain to arrive at something that might be, for once, Black healing. Writing in the ancestral tradition of stories passed from one generation to the next, relived, revised, revealed, Tara M. Stringfellow assembles an endearing and unforgettable cast of characters who find strength in vulnerability, safety in art, and liberation in telling the truth. It's just a fantastic book. And look at that cover. I mean, it's beautiful. And then another great, great book on the spring list coming out in January. Lost and Found, a memoir by Catherine Schultz, who is a staff writer at The New Yorker and also a winner of the Pulitzer Prize, so she has some chops. This is the story of both loss and finding love. And it's told in just this unique, incredibly smart way. It's broken into 3 parts. There's the lost part, the and part, and the found part. And again, I have a quote for you. And this is from one of my heroes, Gia Tolentino, author of our book, Trick Mirror, of course. Catherine Schultz has a singular way of turning a familiar idea around and around until it becomes cosmic, geological, and wondrous. In Lost and Found, she turns a memoir of love and death into an exploration of the way chance becomes fate and grief intertwines with gratitude. It's just a wonderful book. And it's always kind of interesting to me when, okay, we have another memoir, and then somehow some of these memoirs can find their way to this unique, fresh voice. Highly recommend. And then something completely different. So for the fall, this is the book I was saying everybody needs. It should be, one of those things stacked up everywhere. Your Guide to Not Getting Murdered in a Quaint English Village. And I just think so many people, especially during the pandemic, binge watched like Midsummer Murders and all those great BBC shows. And by the way, who even lives in Midsummer anymore? And the bigger question is, who would even move to that place at this point? Anyway, I just wanted to read a couple just quickly. So these are things you should avoid in an English village. Places with gargoyles or statuary. Ghosts and monsters of stone, they're there to kill you. The village shop, they sell cheese, stamps, tea, and death. And then my favorite, sorry, is you should avoid canopy beds because they have snakes in them. So anyway, I think this is just a marvelous gift book, $16.99 hardcover. How can you go wrong? And then another great book, and I want to talk about this. It's a little different. I'm a huge Mick Herron fan, British kind of thriller author. Slow Horses is the first book in his series. It's been re-released as a deluxe edition. The exciting thing here, and you may have caught on because of the picture, supposedly early next year, because everything got pushed back, of course, the Slow Horses series is coming to Apple Plus. And the cast, it's Jonathan Pryce, Gary Oldman, Kristen Scott Thomas. I mean, the list just goes on and on. This is going to be your big, huge breakout media time book, I should say. And then this is also really exciting. Another great gift book for the fall, the New York Times Book Review, 125 Years of Literary History. I don't know what I can add to that. It's going to be this big, massive tome that any book lover is really going to need this season. And I know it's in many store holiday catalogs already. And then another exciting book that just came out today, actually, Black Food. Bryant Terry is a Bay Area author. And this is the first book in his imprint that he partnered with 10 Speed. It's called 4 Color Books. And Black Food is this big, beautiful, and I ordered a finished copy. It still hasn't come yet, but I wanted to show you. It's just gorgeous, important. And I think this is going to be one of those things that just sells and sells for years and years. Then we have, this is kind of my dark horse in the race, so to speak, Zero File. So this was originally published. There was an older edition from Hatbeard Press that some people may be familiar with. And some of my accounts really sold a lot of this, of the older edition. The newer edition is being re-released by 10 Speed. And you can see it's gorgeous photography, and almost every conversation I'm having with stores lately is about how people are obsessed with plants lately. Like, plants are the new pets, I call it, because during the pandemic in particular, I just see in my social media feed, it's people showing off their plants and their plant collection. And I think this is great for those people. And it's the package, once it finally comes out, is going to be this really cool cover. It's going to be all cactus all the time. And I think especially in California, this could do very, very well. Comes out November 23rd, and so it will be out for the holidays. And I want to wrap up just with a couple quick things. If you don't know yet how to download digital ARCs, we can get that information to you. It's a simple process. You sign up through Edelweiss, and we can get that documentation to you. And also, I wanted to bring up, and I didn't make a slide for this because I forgot, we have a special app just for booksellers called Volumes. And what you can do is you can download the Volumes app. It's for iOS and Android. And you can sign up to get a monthly selection of free audiobooks. And especially any of us living in California, especially now that we're going out and about again, we're going to be back in our cars. And the really, really cool thing, though, is there's a way you can request, and maybe you won't always get access, but you can request any audiobook to download through the Volumes app. So extremely cool, something just for booksellers from PRH. And I guess I will wrap it up and pass it along.
Good job, Wade. Thank you so much. We were all laughing at your description, but
Which
we
with the how to
couldn't
not
hear
get
it, but
murdered?
we were in hysterics. Trust me.
How
Midsummer.
not to get murdered
Yeah.
in a quaint English
Yeah.
village. Canopy
That was-
beds, folks. Canopy beds. None of that. None of that.
No canopy beds. All right, we're gonna pass it on to Steve Atinsky. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Kristen. Hi, everybody. I'm going to just be talking about spring of 2022. Here we go. Hanya Yanagiharas to Paradise is a novel about 3 different versions of New York City and America, each set 100 years apart, with a townhouse in Washington Square serving as the central location for all the stories. The first section is set in 1893 in a New York where same-sex marriage is legal, but who you marry, it's still dictated by wealth and class. It's a kind of an alternate gay version of Henry James' Washington Square. Now, part 2 is set in 1993 during the AIDS epidemic. A young Hawaiian man working at a law firm becomes the lover of one of the firm's partner, and he's introduced to a group of older men dealing with the loss of friends during this horrible time. He's burdened with shame about his father, a man who might have become king if Hawaii was still independent, but instead became lost in try to get this right, Lipo Wahonahele, which translates to the gloom and darkness of the forest. The third section is set in 2093 and imagines what the country might be like after decades of pandemics. Here, a scientist who once advocated for the policies that have led to a fascist society tries to save his granddaughter, Charlie, a damaged young woman who you can't help caring deeply for in the way we did for Jude in A Little Life. Now, the 3 sections reflect on each other in themes of who we choose to love, the bonds of family, who we become in times of crisis, and the elusive promise of a better world. Next up is Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. And this is a time travel novel, but it's also a novel about love and art and somewhat comically what it's like to be a best-selling author during a pandemic on tour. It's autofiction, it's science fiction, and it's literature. And it ties into her earlier novels, especially Glass Hotel, but you don't have to, it works independently. Now, it opens in 1912 as the disgraced son of an earl, exiled for an ill-timed diatribe at a dinner party, who hasn't done that, crosses the Atlantic and settles in Vancouver, Canada. One afternoon, he stumbles into the woods and hears the notes of a violin echoing in an airship terminal. Weird. It's an experience that shocks him to his core. Now, 2 centuries later, a best-selling novelist on tour for her book about a global pandemic is away from her young family who live in a colony on the moon when a new superflu begins spreading across the earth. Now, 1 year after that, a detective from that same moon colony is hired to investigate a strange passage in that author's novel about a moment in the Canadian woods that matches what our young Englishman experienced in 1912. And with it, he sees a chance to travel back in time and change the course of history. The Via Lynn Conspiracy, this is a debut from Brendan Slocum, and it's an Anchor hardcover original. The main character is Ray McMillan. He's a young Black concert musician whose violin, a Stradivarius, is stolen shortly before he is to compete in Russia in one of the most prestigious music contests in the world. And it's about his high stakes attempt to recover his stolen violin, which is a family heirloom. And it was given to Ray's great grandfather by the man who owned him. So there's a lot of deep history there. Now, the story works on a lot of levels. It's about racism, the racism that exists within the classical music community. It's a whodunit, and also, well, I guess it's really a who took it. And it's a family story about how a family can be divided by money. And it's an underdog story of grit, determination, and love of craft. When We Were Birds by Anya Lloyd Banwo. This is another debut, and it is a fantastical star-crossed love story. It's magic realism. It's set in Port Angeles, not entirely real city in Trinidad and Tobago, where two young people meet in the midst of a storm that is not entirely natural. The book is written in the patois of the islands and patois. And Darwin, we start with Darwin, who is a young, down on his luck Rastafarian. And he has shorn his dreadlocks and his faith and arrived in the city to take a job as a grave digger. Yehidi is mourning her difficult mother, who in death as in life is still refusing to teach her about her inheritance. One woman in each generation of her family has the power and obligation to show the dead into the afterlife. When Darwin and Yehidi meet at the gates of the Fidelis Cemetery, their connection is undeniable, but untenable, as the cemetery's spirits need both of them to restore justice to the city's restless and angry dead. A new novel from Julie Asuka, and she writes slowly, we know, and succinctly. Emperor Was Divine, 2002, Buddha in the Attic, 2011. But like those two novels, this one is spare and elegant, and the brevity belies its power. It's divided in 3 sections. The first is told in the form of a Greek chorus. It's about a group of swimmers who use a community pool for exercise, each quite independent of each other, but with a common bond of following the rules laid out by the facility. When a small crack appears at the bottom of the pool and starts to increase in size, we follow their reactions and interpretations of what it means to each of them. The second section is about Alice, an elderly swimmer suffering from late-stage dementia, who's spending an increasingly amount of time lost in her own mind. And the third section is about Alice's semi-estranged daughter who comes back home just in time to watch her mother disappear and has to deal with that loss. The writing is just gorgeous and delivers on a very emotional level. Next up, I Was Better Last Night by I'm going to skip over the red arrow just for time's sake. Harvey Fierstein is many things. He was the author of Torch Song trilogy and starred in that. That's what catapulted him to fame. He wrote the books for the huge hits La Cage aux Folles and Kinky Boots, and he started another huge Broadway hit, Hairspray. And he even had an incredible run as Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof. He's a cultural icon, highly important in the LGBTQ community for his important work as a gay activist. He's led an extraordinary life, and this memoir documents his life in the theater and beyond with great humor, heart, and poignancy. And finally, I want to tell you about Lessons in Chemistry. And you can see how excited Doubleday is about this book. It has a special cover release on Entertainment Weekly tomorrow. And I adore this novel. It's by Bonnie Garmis, who was a copy editor in her 60s. It is clever, it is touching, sad, hilarious in parts, delightful, and ultimately uplifting. And I have to tell you, if there's one book that I urge you to read for the sheer pleasure of it on this list that has Hanya and Emily St. John Mandel and Julie Otsuka, it's Lessons in Chemistry. It's set in the 50s and 60s. The central character, Elizabeth Zott, is a woman who will not stay in her place or dumb herself down to fit in better with the boys' club. She's a scientist and smarter and more innovative than her male colleagues and bosses. When she finds herself fired from her research job for being unmarried and pregnant, she takes a job as the host of an afternoon TV cooking show. She's quite good looking, so that's why they picked her. And it's just to support herself and her daughter. But this cooking show is like nothing anyone has ever seen. She teaches her all-female audience that cooking is chemistry and chemistry is change. And armed with that understanding, housewives can change the world. The supporting cast of characters, from Calvin, her partner in science, love, and rowing, to Harriet, the beloved nosy neighbor, to Walter, the milk Toast TV producer, to Wakely, this atheist minister, to 630, who is the best canine character I've read in a very long time. All of it is priceless, and it all leads to this Dickensian ending that's pure genius. That's it for me, and I guess I'm turning it over to Amy
Wow.
Comito.
Steve, you did great. You've got 25 seconds to spare. Do you want to tell us anything?
Just the one book I skipped over, Red Arrow, is brilliant. It takes place in the part of it in the Bay Area, and Will Brewer is a fellow from, he had a Stanford fellowship in poetry, and it's just a really mind-bending novel, and involves, to some degree, magic mushrooms. I'll leave it at that.
Awesome. All right. On that happy note, we're gonna pass it over to Amy.
Great, thank you. I'll take his 20 seconds.
You got it.
Okay, I got this perfectly timed. So it's been a few years. That's our first slide, our beautiful logo. Thank you for all your penguin reads. Here's 11 more from spring for you. So my first title is Booth. It's been a few years since we published a book by Karen Joy Fowler, but her previous books, we are all completely beside ourselves, and the Jane Austen Books Club are still selling really well in paperback. So order those in for Christmas. Each book Karen writes is so different, but each contains her wonderful writing and characters. In Booth, Karen is writing a historical fiction book now. Booth tells the story behind John Wilkes Booth's family. In 1822, the father of John Wilkes Booth moves the family to a secret cabin outside of Baltimore. And there are 10 children, they're on a rural farm. The father is a famous Shakespearean actor who is always gone, and there's a drunk grandfather. So what could go wrong, you think? Like this holistic upbringing. So I kept looking at Wikipedia, like, is this true? Did she make this up? But it's all true. So it's amazing. Karen carefully ratchets up the tension to what's happening in the backdrop of the country. So to the fateful event that you know it is coming from John Wilkes Booth. My next title is Trust by Hernandez. So that's coming, this is coming from Riverhead next May. It's an epic read and just one of my favorites on the list. You know, Riverhead, we can do fiction, and this is going to be a big, big book. Diaz's first book, In the Distance, was nominated for a Pulitzer and Penn Faulkner Award. So this guy has really great writing chops. This book is set in 1920 New York City. A Wall Street tycoon meets and marries a daughter of aristocrats. The couple is super wealthy, they're at the top of society, and they have it all. Or do they? The story is told in 4 sections in 4 different narrative forms: a novel, an unfinished manuscript, a biography, and a diary. So the reader gets 4 perspectives of who is this couple. And there are lots of little twists in it. It's just elegant, inventive storytelling with lots of fodder for book clubs. You're gonna love this book. My next book is Small World by Jonathan Iverson. So this is the first book that we're doing of Jonathan Iverson, and it's perfect for the Indie Next deadline, which is coming up November 1st. Please vote. Small World Books is his most ambitious book he's written, with huge themes. His editor says it's the book of his career and his best work yet. Small World is a historic epic set in multiple time periods in which the characters interconnect with the most intriguing and meaningful ways. The story is told from multiple perspectives, the alternating between present-day travelers on a train to their ancestors from 100 years ago. The story probes our country's injustices, big and small. It's a historic epic with a Dickensian flair, set against iconic backdrops such as the California Gold Rush and the development of the Continental Railroad. It's just an amazing book. I do urge you to pick it up. The galleys came last June, so dig through your galleys and find this book. It's a great, great book. My next book is a debut, also eligible for Indie Next this month, is Fiona and Jane. So Jean Chen Ho's debut short story collection follows two friends, Fiona and Jane, over the course of 2 decades. The heart of the book is the relationship between these two friends. They are both Taiwanese American, and they met in high school in Southern California. We follow them over these 10 linked short stories, and we see through their teenage years to their early 30s, and we see their highs and lows in their families, their love lives, their romances, and all kinds of things. It's just a beautiful first book about so many themes, immigration, so many different things that you can talk about in book clubs. She's funny, she's a risky, bold writer, and she was born in Taiwan, but now she lives in Los Angeles. So it's a nice diverse fiction pick for us. Then the next one, What the Fireflies Knew. I love this book. This is the debut novel from Kai Harris. It's the first fiction on our tiny reparation list, which is a new imprint dedicating to amplifying and highlighting diverse voices, which we all want to do. This book is just a gem. It's a fresh ode to Black girlhood. It tells the story of 11-year-old KB and her sister, Nia, in Michigan. Their father overdoses and the mother just can't cope and breaks down. So she sends the 2 little girls to their granddaddy that they didn't even know they had in Lansing, rural Michigan. It's the first time they've lived in the country. It's the first time they've had a white neighbor. It's the first time they had a house. There's so many things going on that are new for them. There's just so many life lessons from this. It reminds me of Jacqueline Woodson, and I'm going to say that. I think this book is amazing. It's funny, sweet, heartbreaking. You're going to see KB deal with trauma, racial issues, new emotions in family. I had the same feeling reading this as I did when I read Where the Crawdads Sing. So I'm saying it now. This is an important book. Book clubs will love it. Mother-daughter book clubs will read it. And it's a really gentle step into any kind of book club that wants to discuss racism and things like that. It's perfect. Okay, Glory is my next title. Glory is a fierce and sweeping allegorical novel. It centers around the unexpected fall of Old Horse, a long-serving leader of a fictional country, the drama that follows for a nation of animals on the path to true liberation. As the Zimbabwe government began to fall, there were all these references on social media to animal farms. So Violet couldn't ignore the parallels between what happened in that book and what was going on in Zimbabwe. So that's where this book came from. It's a literary and political novel whose premise is ripped from the headlines. Glory grapples with the contradictions of democracy and capitalism. It's inspired by Zimbabwe, but it could have taken place in many countries across the world who are experiencing the same sort of upheaval. Violet lives in Oakland, so that's for you Northern California people. Then another book that I just loved is A House Between Earth and Moon by Rebecca Sherm. So this novel, it's really great. It's set in the near future at mostly a luxury space station for billionaires. Sound familiar? It follows a big cast of characters in the year 2033 as climate change has decimated the planet. The world's largest tech company has convinced everyone to put a phone in their ear, implant in their ear. And one scientist is trying to save the planet from the climate change. This epic character-driven fiction is told from multiple points of view. We have the scientist who's desperate to save the Earth. We've got his daughter who's desperate to go see her father in space. And then we have Tess, who's a great, clever character who's spying on everyone through their phone implants and trying to figure out an algorithm to predict human behavior. It's really wild. Rebecca's novel asks big questions about climate change, parenthood, technology, and privacy. It'll make you rethink your relationship with your phone, the planet, and your family.
You've got 1 minute.
Okay, we're gonna skip search. Skip search. She's a local author in Pasadena. She's wonderful. We can talk about that at the party. And then Invisible Kingdom. I love this. Just like Breath hit the Riverhead list, this is such an important book because this book is a personal reflection and study of the author's own experience of an autoimmune disease journey to diagnosis. The current medical system often fails when it comes to these kind of diagnoses, and 7% of the US population has an autoimmune disease. And now we have the long haul COVID people, which is 30% of the people who get COVID have some type of symptoms. So this is an important book in nonfiction. And then my last two, I'm just mentioning quick because there's not too much to say about them. Time as a Mother, coming out. It's Ocean's second volume of poetry. It's fantastic. It's in time for Poetry Month. You're gonna love it. And then the next slide, the last slide, is Book Lovers. Emily Henry is back with a bookish summer book for you. And we've bought 4 for her, 4 next novels from her. So you're gonna have plenty of Emily Henry, but you did so well with beach reads and people we made on vacation that this is a great one for next summer. So that's it.
Awesome. Oh, you did it. Thank you.
Woo!
Thank
That
you
was
so
hard.
much. Woo! You guys made it. Unbelievable. Well, we want to thank all of these amazing and talented reps, and also, of course, Penguin Random House for their ongoing support. I know that a few of these beautiful faces are going to be visiting with us down in Pasadena at our in-person party on Thursday, October 28th. So raise your hand if you're going to be in Pasadena. We want to see you. We would love to have you join us. All the information can be found on our website, calibaalliance.org. I know that Anne and Valentina have been very busy dropping into the chat some links to the Edelweiss collections. And in the Galley Gallery, Penguin Random House has their own page, and that can be found at caliba-annex.org. So if you're looking for some of the arcs that the reps were talking about tonight, you will be able to find and request them there. If you have questions for the reps, you can, of course, get in touch with them directly. Please be sure, just one more note, please be sure and join us tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. for our children's rep picks. You can sign up again on our website, calibaalliance.org. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks, guys. It was great to see you.
Good
Thank you,
night. Thank
Caliba.
you.